Maya Johnson's alarm clock rang at 4:30 a.m., just like it had every weekday for the past 8 years. She rolled out of bed and looked out her small apartment window. The city was still dark and quiet. Most people were still sleeping, but Maya was getting ready for another busy day at Chicago O'Hare Airport. She made herself a cup of strong coffee and ate a quick breakfast. Maya always liked to start her day early. She believed that being on time showed respect for her job and the people she worked with. At 35 years old, she had learned that respect was something you had to earn every single day. Maya put on her bright orange safety vest and clipped her radio to her belt. She looked at herself in the mirror one last time. Her supervisor badge shined on her chest. It had taken her 8 long years to earn that badge. She started as a part-time baggage loader, working nights and weekends. Back then, some people told her she would never move up. They said the airport was not a place for black women to become leaders. But Maya proved them wrong. She studied hard, learned every rule, and worked extra hours. She helped train new workers and solved problems that others could not fix. Slowly but surely, she climbed up the ladder. Now she was in charge of ground operations for Terminal 3, one of the busiest parts of the whole airport. Maya drove through the empty streets to the airport. The sun was just starting to rise, painting the sky a soft pink color. She loved this quiet time before the airport came alive with thousands of travelers. When she arrived at Terminal 3, Maya parked her car and walked to the employee entrance. She scanned her badge and heard the familiar beep that meant she was officially at work. The hallways were bright with fluorescent lights, and the smell of coffee drifted from the employee break room. Maya walked to her office, a small room with windows that looked out onto the busy runway. She could see planes lined up like giant metal birds, waiting for their turn to take off. This view never got old for her. Every plane carried hundreds of people to new places, new adventures, new beginnings. She turned on her computer and checked the day's schedule. Tuesday, March 15th, looked like it would be very busy. Over 200 flights were scheduled to leave from Terminal 3. That meant thousands of passengers, tons of luggage, and hundreds of workers all needing to work together like a well-oiled machine. Maya printed out the weather report. Clear skies were expected, which was good news. Bad weather always made her job much harder. She also checked for any special flights that might need extra attention. She saw that Flight 447 to Denver was carrying some VIP passengers. That meant she would need to make sure everything went perfectly for that flight. At 6 a.m., Maya's team started arriving for their shifts. She had 15 people working under her: baggage handlers, equipment operators, and ground crew members. They came from all different backgrounds. Some were young college students working part-time. Others were older men who had been loading bags for decades. Maya gathered her team for their daily meeting in the break room. The room was small and cramped, with metal folding chairs and a bulletin board covered in safety notices and work schedules. "Good morning, everyone," Maya said with a smile. "We have a busy day ahead of us. Let's make sure we keep safety first and get every passenger to their destination on time." Her team nodded and smiled back. Most of them really respected Maya. She was fair, hardworking, and always had their backs when problems came up. She never asked them to do anything she would not do herself. As the team headed out to start their work, Maya felt good about the day ahead. She had no idea that in just a few hours, everything would change. She had no idea that this ordinary Tuesday morning would become the most challenging day of her entire career. The airport was waking up around her. Passengers were starting to arrive for early flights. The coffee shops were opening, and the first announcements of the day echoed through the terminals. Maya checked her radio one more time and headed out to the tarmac. It was time to make sure another day at O'Hare Airport ran smoothly. At 7:45 a.m., Maya was checking the baggage carts near Gate 12 when her radio crackled to life. It was Tom, one of the aircraft mechanics. "Maya, we have a problem with Flight 447. Tom's voice sounded worried. "The plane has a hydraulic leak. We need to fix it before takeoff." Maya's heart sank. Flight 447 to Denver was supposed to leave at 8:30 a.m. It was completely full with 180 passengers, and she knew some of them were very important business people. A hydraulic problem was serious and could not be ignored. "How long will it take to fix?" Maya asked into her radio. "At least 2 hours, maybe more," Tom replied. "We need to get parts and run safety tests." Maya walked quickly to Gate 12. She could already see passengers sitting in the waiting area, drinking coffee and reading newspapers. They had no idea their flight would be delayed. Maya knew that telling people bad news was never easy, but it was part of her job. She found Sarah, the gate agent, and explained the situation. Sarah's face went pale. She knew that angry passengers would blame her for the delay, even though it was not her fault. "I'll make the announcement," Sarah said with a nervous sigh. The announcement came over the speaker at 8:15 a.m. "Ladies and gentlemen, Flight 447 to Denver has been delayed due to a mechanical issue. We expect departure at approximately 10:30 a.m. We apologize for any inconvenience." The reaction was immediate. Passengers started complaining loudly. Some rushed to the gate counter demanding answers. Others got on their phones, probably calling their offices or changing their plans. Maya watched from outside the gate area. She could see the frustration on people's faces. She felt bad for them, but safety always came first. It was better to fix the problem on the ground than have trouble in the air. Among the angry passengers was a tall man in an expensive suit. His name was Richard Hartwell, though Maya did not know that yet. He was a wealthy businessman who owned several companies. He was used to getting his way and did not like being told to wait. Hartwell marched up to the gate counter and slammed his first-class ticket down. "This is ridiculous," he shouted at Sarah. "I have an important meeting in Denver at 2 p.m. This delay is costing me money." Sarah tried to stay calm. "Sir, I understand your frustration, but we cannot fly until the aircraft is safe. We can try to get you on another flight." "Another flight?" Hartwell's voice got louder. "Do you know who I am? I fly 200,000 miles a year with this airline. This is unacceptable." Other passengers started gathering around, some nodding in agreement with Hartwell. The situation was getting tense. Maya decided to go outside and check on the repair work. She walked onto the tarmac where the plane was parked. The mechanics were working hard, but she could see it would take time. The hydraulic fluid was still leaking, and they needed to replace several parts. While Maya was coordinating with the mechanics, something caught Hartwell's attention through the gate window. He saw her standing near the aircraft, wearing her bright orange vest and talking on her radio. To him, she looked like she was in charge of the ground operations. Hartwell's face turned red with anger. In his mind, he decided that this black woman must be responsible for his delay. He did not know anything about aircraft mechanics or safety procedures. He just saw someone to blame for ruining his day. "Look at her," Hartwell said loudly, pointing through the window at Maya. "She's just standing around talking while we're stuck here waiting." A few other passengers looked where he was pointing. Maya was actually doing her job, coordinating the repair work and making sure everything was done safely. But from inside the terminal, it might have looked like she was just chatting. "She's probably the reason we're delayed," Hartwell continued. "These people don't understand the value of time. They move too slow and don't care about passengers like us." His words were carefully chosen, but everyone understood what he meant by these people. Some passengers looked uncomfortable, but others began nodding along. Maya had no idea what was happening inside the terminal. She was focused on getting the plane fixed and the passengers safely on their way. She had dealt with delays before and knew that staying calm and professional was the best way to handle the situation. But Richard Hartwell had already made up his mind. He was going to make sure someone paid for ruining his day. Richard Hartwell was not the type of man who suffered in silence. By 9:30 a.m., he had already talked to 3 other passengers about Maya. He pointed at her through the window every time she appeared near the aircraft. "See that woman in the orange vest?" he said to anyone who would listen. She's the supervisor down there. This whole delay is probably her fault. An older woman named Mrs. Peterson nodded along. She was also frustrated about missing her connecting flight in Denver. "You're right," she said. "Someone needs to be held responsible for this mess." A young businessman named Jake Miller was checking his phone constantly. His important presentation was being pushed back because of the delay. "This is costing me a major client," he complained. "Something needs to be done." Hartwell smiled. He was good at getting people on his side. He had been doing it in business for years. "I think we should demand to speak with management," he announced. "As paying customers, we deserve better treatment than this." The small group of angry passengers marched to the customer service desk. Hartwell led the way, his expensive shoes clicking loudly on the terminal floor. Behind the desk sat Maria Gonzalez, a tired-looking woman who had been dealing with complaints all morning. "I want to speak with your manager immediately," Hartwell demanded, slamming his boarding pass on the counter. Maria looked up with weary eyes. "Sir, I can help you with rebooking or—" "No," Hartwell interrupted. "I want the person in charge. This delay is unacceptable, and I know exactly who is responsible." Maria called her supervisor, Janet Walsh, on the phone. Janet arrived within 5 minutes, looking professional in her navy blue suit. She had been working at the airport for 15 years and had seen every type of complaint. "How can I help you, gentlemen?" Janet asked politely. Hartwell straightened his tie and put on his most authoritative voice. "My name is Richard Hartwell. I own 3 companies and fly over 200,000 miles per year. This delay has cost me thousands of dollars, and I want action taken immediately." Janet nodded patiently. "Sir, I understand your frustration. The delay is due to a mechanical issue that—" "I don't want to hear excuses," Hartwell cut her off. "I've been watching your ground crew, and frankly, I'm disgusted by what I've seen." He pointed toward the window where Maya could be seen coordinating with the mechanics. "That woman in the orange vest has been moving like molasses all morning. She's clearly not qualified for her position." Mrs. Peterson stepped forward. "He's absolutely right. We've all been watching her. She seems more interested in chatting than working." Jake Miller nodded eagerly. "I saw her just standing around while we're stuck here waiting." "It's unprofessional." Janet looked through the window at Maya, who was actually doing her job perfectly. Maya was checking safety reports and making sure the repair work met all requirements. But from inside the terminal, her careful attention to detail might look like slow movement to impatient passengers. "The supervisor you're referring to is Maya Johnson," Janet said carefully. "She's been with us for 8 years and has an excellent record." Hartwell's eyes narrowed. "I don't care about her record. I care about results. And the result is that I'm missing my meeting because of her incompetence. Sir, the delay is caused by a hydraulic leak, not by— Are you going to do something about this or not?" Hartwell's voice rose. Other passengers in the area turned to look at the commotion. Janet felt the pressure building. She could see that Hartwell was not going to back down, and he had convinced other passengers to support his complaint. The last thing the airport needed was bad publicity from angry customers. "I'll look into the situation," Janet said reluctantly. Hartwell pulled out his gold frequent flyer card and placed it on the counter. "I want that woman removed from this flight operation immediately. If she's not capable of doing her job properly, she shouldn't be in a position of responsibility." Mrs. Peterson crossed her arms. "We demand action. This kind of service is unacceptable." Jake Miller was recording the conversation on his phone. "I'm documenting everything for my company's travel department. They need to know how passengers are treated here." Janet felt trapped. She knew Maya was not at fault, but these passengers were influential and determined. The airport's customer service policy was to keep passengers happy whenever possible. "I'll speak with Ms. Johnson right away," Janet said, hoping to calm the situation. Hartwell smiled with satisfaction. "Good, and I want to be informed of what action you take. This kind of behavior cannot be tolerated." As Janet walked away from the counter, She felt sick to her stomach. She had to go outside and call Maya in for questioning, even though she knew Maya had done nothing wrong. The mechanical delay was completely out of Maya's control, but these passengers had decided she was guilty. Maya was still on the tarmac, checking the progress of the repairs, when Janet's call came through on her radio. "Maya, I need you to come to the customer service office immediately." Maya looked confused. "Is everything okay? The repairs are almost finished. Just come in, please. We need to talk." As Maya walked toward the terminal building, she had no idea that her 8 years of hard work and dedication were about to be questioned because of one man's need to blame someone for his ruined day. Maya walked into the customer service office with dirty hands from checking the aircraft repairs. She had no idea why Janet needed to see her so urgently. The repairs were going well, and Flight 447 would be ready to leave soon. "Sit down, Maya," Janet said, pointing to a chair across from her desk. Her voice sounded different than usual, more formal and cold. Maya sat down and noticed that Janet would not look her in the eyes. Something was very wrong. "We've received some serious complaints about your performance this morning," Janet began, reading from a piece of paper. Maya's mouth fell open. "Complaints? About what?" "Several passengers have reported that you were moving too slowly and not taking the flight delay seriously. They say you were standing around talking instead of working." Maya could not believe what she was hearing. "Janet, you know that's not true. I've been coordinating the hydraulic repair all morning. I was talking to the mechanics, not just chatting." Janet finally looked up from her paper. Maya could see the discomfort in her boss's eyes. "The passengers say they watched you through the window. They claim you were unprofessional and that the delay is your fault." "My fault?" Maya's voice rose. "The plane has a hydraulic leak. I didn't cause that. The mechanics found the problem, and I've been making sure it gets fixed safely." Janet shuffled the papers on her desk nervously. "I know, Maya, but these are very upset passengers. One of them is a platinum frequent flyer who threatens to take his business elsewhere." Maya felt her heart pounding. After 8 years of perfect service, she was being questioned because some angry passengers needed someone to blame. "Can I ask who made these complaints?" Maya said, trying to stay calm. "I can't give you their names, but there are 4 passengers who all say the same thing. They watched you for over an hour and felt you were not working hard enough." Maya stood up from her chair. "Janet, this is crazy. You can check the security cameras. You can ask Tom and the other mechanics what I was doing. I was doing my job exactly like I always do." Janet looked uncomfortable. She had worked with Maya for years and knew she was one of the best supervisors at the airport. But the pressure from above was intense. The customer service director had already called her twice asking for updates. "Maya, I believe you," Janet said quietly, "but I have to follow procedure when passengers make formal complaints." "What kind of procedure?" Maya asked, feeling scared for the first time. Janet took a deep breath. "I have to suspend you pending a full investigation." The words hit Maya like a punch in the stomach. "Suspend me? For doing my job?" "It's temporary," Janet said quickly, "just until we can investigate the complaints and review the security footage." Maya felt tears forming in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She had seen this happen to other black employees over the years. When white passengers complained, management always took their side first and asked questions later. "How long will this investigation take?" Maya asked. "A few days, maybe a week," Janet replied, not meeting her eyes again. Maya thought about her bills, her rent, her car payment. She could not afford to miss a week of work, but more than the money, she was hurt by the injustice of it all. "I want to see these complaints in writing," Maya said firmly. Janet looked surprised. "Maya, I don't think that's..." "I have rights, Janet. If I'm being suspended, I want to see exactly what I'm accused of." Janet opened her filing cabinet and pulled out a folder. She handed Maya 3 handwritten complaint forms. Maya read them quickly, her anger growing with each word. The complaints all said similar things: that she was slow and unprofessional, that she didn't seem to care about passenger needs, that she was not suitable for a supervisory position. Maya looked up at Janet. These people don't even know my name. They just describe me as the black woman in the orange vest. They don't know anything about aircraft maintenance or safety procedures. Janet winced at Maya's words because she knew they were true. One of them even says I was probably hired to fill a quota. Maya continued, her voice shaking with anger. This isn't about my job performance. This is about something else entirely. Janet stood up and walked to the window. She could see the aircraft outside where Maya had been working all morning. The mechanics were just finishing up the repairs. Maya, I'm sorry. I really am. But my hands are tied. The complaints have been filed, and I have to follow company policy. Maya gathered her things and headed for the door. Before leaving, she turned back to Janet. You know what's really sad? That plane is going to take off safely in 30 minutes because I did my job right. But I'm the one being punished. As Maya walked out of the office, she felt the stares of other employees in the hallway. Word travels fast in airports, and everyone would know about her suspension within hours. She turned in her radio and her security badge at the front desk. The security guard who took them looked embarrassed and avoided eye contact. Walking to her car in the employee parking lot, Maya felt more alone than she had ever felt in her life. 8 years of hard work, perfect attendance, and dedication meant nothing when faced with the complaints of passengers who had already decided she was guilty. Maya spent the first day of her suspension crying and feeling sorry for herself. But by the second day, anger replaced her sadness. She was not going to let this injustice destroy her career without a fight. Maya called her friend Marcus, who worked as an aircraft mechanic at the airport. Marcus, I need your help, she said. Can you get me the maintenance records for Flight 447 from Tuesday morning? Marcus was shocked when Maya told him what happened. That's crazy, Maya. Everyone knows you're one of the best supervisors here. Those passengers don't know what they're talking about. An hour later, Marcus arrived at Maya's apartment with a folder full of papers. The maintenance records showed exactly what Maya already knew. Flight 447 had a serious hydraulic leak that was discovered at 7:30 a.m., before her shift even started. Look at this, Marcus said, pointing to a report. The leak was so bad that hydraulic fluid was dripping on the tarmac. There was no way that plane could fly safely. Maya studied the papers carefully. The timestamps proved that the mechanical problem existed before she ever went near the aircraft. She had been doing exactly what she should do, making sure the plane was safe to fly. Next, Maya called her cousin Denise, who worked in airport security. Denise, I need to see the security camera footage from Gate 12 on Tuesday morning. Can you help me? Denise was nervous about helping, but she knew Maya was being treated unfairly. That evening, she brought Maya a flash drive with video files. Maya watched the footage on her laptop. The videos showed her working professionally all morning, talking to mechanics, checking safety reports, and coordinating the repair work. She was never standing around or wasting time like the passengers claimed. But as Maya continued investigating, she discovered something that made her blood boil. She found Richard Hartwell's name on the passenger list and looked him up online. What she found made everything clear. Hartwell had a history of complaining about minority employees. Maya found news articles about lawsuits he had filed against hotels, restaurants, and other businesses. In every case, he claimed poor service from Black or Hispanic workers. Maya also discovered that Hartwell was planning to sue the airline for the flight delay. He was using her suspension as proof that the airline had incompetent employees. Her career was being destroyed to help him win money in court. Maya printed everything she found and put it in a folder. She had evidence that could clear her name, but she knew airport management might try to ignore it. She needed to take her fight public. Maya contacted Channel 7 News and told them her story. Reporter Jennifer Kim was immediately interested. Cases of workplace discrimination always got public attention, especially when they involved airports and passenger safety. Jennifer interviewed Maya at her apartment. Maya sat calmly and explained what really happened that Tuesday morning. She showed the maintenance records, the security footage, and her research about Hartwell's history of complaints. "I'm not asking for special treatment," Maya said to the camera. "I just want to be judged fairly based on my actual job performance, not on the complaints of passengers who don't understand aircraft safety." The news story aired on Wednesday evening. By Thursday morning, it was spreading rapidly on social media. Airport employees shared the story, talking about their own experiences with unfair treatment from passengers and management. Maya's phone started ringing constantly. Other employees called to share their stories. Carlos, a baggage handler, told her about being accused of stealing when a passenger's luggage was actually on the wrong flight. Fatima, a security officer, described being called suspicious by passengers who didn't want to be searched by someone wearing a hijab. The story caught the attention of civil rights organizations. The NAACP offered to help Maya fight her suspension. Labor unions demanded that the airport change its policies for handling passenger complaints. By Friday, major news networks were covering Maya's story. Aviation experts appeared on television to explain that Maya had followed proper safety procedures. They said suspending her actually made flying less safe by punishing employees for doing their jobs correctly. Richard Hartwell found himself under intense scrutiny. Reporters discovered his history of targeting minority workers and his plan to sue the airline. His social media posts about the incident were analyzed and criticized as racially motivated. The airport faced enormous pressure to reinstate Maya and change their complaint procedures. Protesters gathered outside Terminal 3 with signs reading "Justice for Maya" and "Safety First, Not Racism." While Maya's story spread across the country, something amazing was happening at O'Hare Airport. Her coworkers were organizing. It started with Marcus and a few other mechanics discussing the situation during their break. "If they can suspend Maya for doing her job right, none of us are safe," Marcus said. Word spread quickly through the employee break rooms, parking lots, and work areas. Baggage handlers, security guards, gate agents, cleaning staff, and mechanics all realized that Maya's situation could happen to any of them. A group of senior employees met secretly at a restaurant near the airport. They included Tom the mechanic, Denise from security, and several union representatives. They planned what they called Operation Maya, a coordinated response to demand justice. "We're not just fighting for Maya," said Robert, a baggage handler who had worked at the airport for 20 years. "We're fighting for every worker who has been treated unfairly because of their race, their accent, or their appearance." The group decided that words were not enough. They needed to take action that would force airport management to listen. They planned a work slowdown that would disrupt operations without putting passengers in danger. Social media helped them coordinate. Airport employees created private Facebook groups and WhatsApp chats to share information and plan their protest. Even employees who couldn't participate directly offered support by covering shifts or spreading the word. Maya had no idea what her coworkers were planning. She was focused on preparing for her meeting with airport management, which was scheduled for Monday morning. She had all her evidence ready and had practiced what she wanted to say. But her coworkers had decided that Maya shouldn't have to fight this battle alone. Monday morning started like any other day at O'Hare Airport. Passengers arrived for their flights, unaware that hundreds of airport employees had coordinated the biggest protest in the airport's history. At exactly 8 a.m., when Maya's suspension meeting was scheduled to begin, the protest started. Baggage handlers slowed down their work to half speed. Ground crew members took extra time for safety checks. Security officers processed passengers more carefully, causing longer lines. The effects were immediate. Flights began experiencing delays as baggage took longer to load and ground operations moved slowly. By 9 a.m., Terminal 3 was backing up with confused and frustrated passengers. Maya arrived at the airport for her meeting and couldn't believe what she saw. Hundreds of employees wore T-shirts that said, "We stand with Maya." Some carried signs explaining that Maya had been suspended for following safety procedures. Airport management was in complete panic. Operations were grinding to a halt, and they couldn't fire hundreds of employees at once. The media was covering the protest live, showing the solidarity Maya's coworkers felt for her. Janet Walsh found Maya in the crowd of protesters. "Maya, we need to talk. Management wants to resolve this situation immediately." Maya looked around at all the people who had risked their jobs to support her. She felt overwhelmed by their loyalty and courage. "I'll talk," she said, "but I want union representatives present, and I want our conversation to be recorded." The meeting took place in a conference room with airport executives, union leaders, Maya's lawyer, and news cameras. Airport Director James Morrison looked tired and defeated. "Ms. Johnson," Morrison began, "we want to offer you full reinstatement with back pay." Maya remained calm. "That's a start, but it's not enough. I want the complaints against me officially removed from my record. I want a written apology. And I want policy changes to protect other employees from false accusations." The room was silent. Morrison looked at his lawyers, who nodded reluctantly. "We can agree to those terms," Morrison said finally. But Maya wasn't finished. "I also want Richard Hartwell banned from this airport. His pattern of targeting minority employees is documented, and he shouldn't be allowed to continue harassing workers." The protest continued outside while negotiations went on for hours. By afternoon, flights throughout the airport were delayed, costing millions of dollars in lost revenue. The agreement was signed at 4 p.m. that Monday afternoon. Maya would return to work immediately with full back pay and a promotion to senior operations manager. The airport would implement new policies requiring thorough investigations before any employee suspensions. Most importantly, a new independent review board would handle discrimination complaints, removing the pressure on managers to automatically side with complaining passengers. When Maya walked out of the conference room, hundreds of airport employees cheered. The protest had worked. They had forced management to treat their coworker fairly and implement changes that would protect everyone. Richard Hartwell's lawsuit was thrown out of court. His business faced boycotts after his discriminatory behavior became public knowledge. He quietly stopped flying through O'Hare Airport. Maya returned to work the next day to find her desk covered with flowers and cards from coworkers. Passengers who had heard her story stopped to thank her for standing up for what was right. 6 months later, Maya looked out over Terminal 3 from her new office. The changes implemented after her case had created a fairer workplace for everyone. Complaint procedures now required evidence and investigation before any disciplinary action. Maya had become a symbol of courage for airport workers across the country. She spoke at conferences about workplace discrimination and the importance of standing up for fellow employees. The incident that almost destroyed her career had instead made her stronger and created positive change for thousands of workers. Maya learned that sometimes the worst moments in life can lead to the most important victories. As she watched planes take off safely from the runway, Maya smiled. She had fought for justice and won, not just for herself, but for every worker who deserved to be treated with dignity and respect. The terminal that had once been the site of her humiliation was now a place where fairness and safety came first, exactly as it should be.